Moving on now to our first keynote speaker after morning tea. We're going to pivot now to the topic of the future workforce. It feels like it's coming at us so quickly at the moment, this sort of new digital-driven world order. Well, some people are talking about needing an adaptability quotient, an increasingly relevant condition requiring people to be more resilient and versatile. Let's drill down into that with one of the experts in the world in the field. Please give a big round of applause. He's going to talk to us for 15 minutes, Mr. Tane Hunter.
Right now, as we speak, there are at least 5 companies drilling beneath the Earth's surface, the crust, to tap into clean geothermal energy that our planet has to provide. On the border of Belgium and France, they're breaking down plastic with bacteria. In Shenzhen, they're delivering drones, blood via drones, and a new breed of satellite means that polluters have nowhere to hide their carbon emissions. We are launching 5,000-ton starships on 7 billion kilometer round-trip journeys to pick up stardust from asteroids. We're performing miracles, allowing paralyzed people to walk by reading their brainwaves and sending it directly to their spines. We've mapped a quarter of the ocean's seafloor in high definition, and one of NVIDIA's new Blackwell chips has more transistors on it than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. In the last 12 months, doctors have begun to treat sickle cell and beta thalassemia with gene editing and CRISPR. Neuroscientists have created the most detailed atlas of brain cells and the most detailed map of the mind itself. We're using artificial intelligence to identify new drugs to treat antibacterial resistant disease, which kills over 1 million people each year. Google just unveiled a new program that can accurately predict how all the basic features of life all fit together. I mean, we just used artificial intelligence to decipher the charred remains of 2,000-year-old Herculean scrolls. I don't know, maybe some of you find this boring. To me, it's indistinguishable from magic. Our scientific instruments are now sensitive enough to see how plants speak to each other, detect gravitational waves of the collisions of supermassive black holes. All of a sudden, we're beginning to understand that we are humming in tune with the entire universe and that each of us contains a signature of everything that has come before. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Tane Hunter. I'm a cancer researcher, data scientist, and bioinformatician. I use artificial intelligence, machine learning, to scan through the code of life DNA and figure out what particular changes are causing cancer and work directly with clinicians to improve patient outcomes. I'm also the co-founder of FutureCrunch. Well, what's FutureCrunch? Sounds like a breakfast cereal for robots, right? Well, it's a research and thought leadership company with a pretty simple mission: to discover what's happening on the frontiers of science and technology, and to seek out and then tell stories of human progress. Stories I believe we all need to hear a little bit more of in this day and age. Our work is about sharing information to foster fact-based, intelligent optimism. We help individuals and organizations understand what's coming next as we move into a new era. We identify deep, long-term trends that are powerful drivers of change, ushering us into a new economy that is altering the world in which we all live, work, and play. Because, good or bad, there's a lot going on out there, and the pace of change is only accelerating. The construction industry is no exception. A multitude of advancements in technologies, from 3D printing, robotics, augmented reality, digital twins, BIM, drones, new sustainability protocols and goals are fundamentally transforming your industry. So let's kick things off by giving you a tool, a lens to help you understand why things are changing so fast and why it makes many of us feel so uncomfortable. It turns out that human beings, we have cognitive biases, evolutionary hangovers that leave us ill-equipped to deal with the rapid pace of technological change that impacts so much of our daily lives. The human brain thinks in a linear fashion. We tend to take changes happening around us and extrapolate them linearly into the future. The problem, of course, is technology does not grow linearly. it advances exponentially. So when we try and predict what's coming next, what the future might hold, we're left with a perception gap. It means in the short term, we tend to overestimate technological progress and its impact, and in the long term, we greatly underestimate it. This is known as Amara's Law. It happens from everything from supply chains to blockchains, real estate to robotics, construction to computation, medicine to mobile phones. This combination of exponential technological growth in the wake of a global pandemic is why it feels like the Wild West out there. But this is also a great time of opportunity because everything has been busted wide open. Your colleagues, clients, and coworkers are more amenable to change. And we know now that the way in which we work is far more flexible than it used to be. So now is an ideal time to be asking ourselves some very important questions. What sort of talents and skills do we need to foster, both within ourselves and the people we work with, and which ones are no longer fit for purpose? If we're going to be successful and deal with the unexpected, how do we prepare not just for the known unknowns, but the unknown unknowns too? This skill, this flexibility that human beings have to deal with the unexpected is becoming one of the most crucial talents for any organization in the world today. The good news is, human beings, we have an extraordinary ability to adapt. Adaptability is intrinsic. We are wired for it. To show you what I mean, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the one thing that all the people behind the innovations that I started the talk with, what's the one thing they all have in common? It was not their qualifications, their expertise, their IQ, how smart they were. We all know highly qualified, smart people. We also know they're not always the ones that come up with the major breakthroughs. It was not their EQ, their emotional quotient, the human skills, your ability to communicate, empathize, and collaborate. Obviously super important. It wasn't that either. It turns out what all of these people had in common was what's called their adaptability quotient, or their AQ. It's your ability innate to learn to identify what is relevant, unlearn obsolete knowledge and the old ways of thinking, and make a conscious and continuous effort to change in real time. Now, it's important to point out that all three of these quotients, they're somewhat complementary. Take applying for a job, for example. Your qualifications, your experience, your IQ, get your resume at the top of the pile, and land you a job interview. Your EQ allows you to win over the interviewer, laugh at their terrible jokes, land the job, and make strong and long-lasting relationships with clients and coworkers. But it is a cue that determines success through time. It's a cue that allows you to pivot when suddenly a machine or an algorithm takes over 30% of your daily tasks. What do you do with that spare capacity? Turns out, the winners are those that use their AQ to pick up something new. Talents and skills that the machines and your competitors cannot replace. That is why Harvard Business Review is calling AQ the next competitive advantage. The first bit of good news is that adaptability is not dependent on your age, your qualifications, or your creativity. It's all about your attitude, your tude. Just like physical fitness, it's something that you can work at, train for, and get better at in the process. So now I'd like to give you, given the limited time, the best place to start when you want to improve your AQ. And given that this is a leap year, let's start with adopting the February 29th mindset. Now, you actually all know a little bit about this already. Let me see if I can explain. During the last leap year in February 2020, something new had arrived that could change the world. But by far the most common response by organizations was to stay the same, maintaining that status quo. Now, to be fair, at the time, felt like the responsible thing was to tone things down, say, all right, this could be huge, but let's not be naive. There are many reasons why this thing might take off. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. And then March 2020 came around and kaboom, suddenly people were saying, holy crap, the scientists were right, drop what you're doing, pivot, burn it all. Where's the toilet paper? We're in the middle of a shitstorm. Quick, get online, order a bidet. They're out too. Why didn't we prepare for this stuff earlier? These two reactions to the same phenomenon were almost completely different, yet happened just days apart. Overnight, the rules had changed, and the facts were seen in a new light. So what is the February 29th mindset? Well, whenever there's a new, rapidly advancing, poorly understood phenomenon, the internet, social media, clean energy, robotics, AI, COVID, organizations tend to react to it in two distinct modes. The February 2020 mode, maintaining that status quo. The March 2020 mode, reactionary, quick, change everything. The trick to being adaptable is to enter the space between these two distinct reactions, to be able to flexibly shift between business as usual and unprecedented change. So ask yourself, can you hold two ideas in your head at once? Can you envision two potential realities and be equally prepared for both? Well, the answer for a leader with the February 29th mindset is always yes. They're actively seeking out the next thing that might transform their industry. They can identify the rising tide. At the same time, they can remain anchored, composed, yet still ready to ride the next wave. Now, what is so powerful about this mindset, especially at the organizational level, is that if you can show your team, the people around you, that you can change your mind, that your opinions have room to evolve, then you give the others a safe and respectable space to share their new ideas and to change their minds too. Now, I imagine that many of you are grappling with the daunting task of what lies ahead of you. And changing your mind is nothing less than tearing down the reliable walls that you've built in your own mind. But if you're working on changing your mind and improving your AQ, the last bit of good news is you do not have to do this alone. Because in each of your communities, you are surrounded by potential. The more diversity that you have in perspectives around you, the less you have to keep crammed in your own head. And if you are seeking solutions, wanting to drive innovation, then look no further than to someone who knows less about your area of expertise, because they know less about your preconceived limitations. They might know technologies, attitudes, approaches that you might be completely unaware of. For example, when you're tackling a problem, let's say, ask an engineer, what should we do with this wall? The answer is going to look a certain way. You might think it's the best answer, perhaps the only answer. But if you ask an artist, the solution will be different. But if you're part of a team full of people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different belief systems, ways of thinking, different genders, cultures, full of creative, innovative minds that have been given the agency to make mistakes and share their new ideas, then you have the power of all of their solutions at your fingertips all of the time. This is the World Wall Climbing Championships. And that's why we know collaboration always trumps genius. Because if we want to reach new heights, confidently face the future, and adapt in real time, then we need each other. Because life happens in all its ups and downs, and through it all we do what we do best. We can adapt, gain survival skills, expand our horizons, harness the strength to overcome our biggest challenges, and the empathy to walk in the shoes of a stranger. Look, none of us know what's coming next, but we can acknowledge just how lucky we are to be here and experience life in all of its nuances, all of its unfairness, but above all, in its beauty. Although we don't know what's coming next, what we do know is we have the innate ability to face it, to transform it into something that is not only benefit to people, but hopefully the entire planet. This is a remarkable moment in human history, an opportunity to grow yourself, your business, And along that journey, learn to love both the science and perhaps a bit of the magic of change. We have so many reasons to be excited, and it doesn't matter where you start. Researching new technology, adopting the February 29th mindset, having strong opinions held a little more lightly, and remembering that your opinions can help be evolved from help within and also from help from without. Human beings, we are remarkable. We are built for this. And you are never too old, you're never too young to start off on a new journey and to try that one new thing. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.